Good morning, listeners, and welcome to today's edition of Uncommon Awareness. We have a really wonderful guest today. It's such a pleasure to introduce this woman. Her name is Johanna Derbolowski, and she is the author of The Transformation Promise. And this developed what she calls the Quantum Heart Field Experience, an easy to learn way to transform life situations by changing yourself. She is a metaphysical teacher and healing coach on the forefront of healing and transformation. Her private sessions, yes, you can do private sessions with her by phone, are spirit-guided and client-specific. Now, in addition to her healing work, she is an ordained minister with the International Metaphysical Ministry, spiritual counselor, and life coach. And her desire to serve and understand has led her to study different religions, philosophies, and healing modalities. These include hypnotherapy, Reiki, and we've heard an awful lot about Reiki recently, consciousness, stem cell therapy, matrix energetics, as well as the work of, and I'm probably going to massacre this name, Grigori Grabavoji. She can fill us in on that. Greg Braden and many others. Although none of these techniques completely provided the answer she was seeking, it led her to her own work in the quantum heart field. And you'll get to hear what that is specifically. Johanna has worked for more than 25 years in the field of metaphysics while continuously advancing her studies to best serve her clients. She has a private practice in Redondo Beach, but works primarily over the phone, as I said. She teaches seminars in the U.S. and Europe. And I want to tell you, Johanna's book is it's called The Transformation Promise. It's only 160 pages long, but it's packed full on every page. She uses examples and analogies very, very masterfully. And every chapter includes insightful and revealing questions to ask yourself for the purpose of understanding, and I mean really understanding where you are so that you can more clearly see your way to where you want to go. So it's a book about love, healing, and the flow of life. It's about taking an honest inventory of our lives for the purpose of greater expansion into a love affair with life, or as Johanna says, to become the butterfly we're all meant to be. It's provocative and yet very easy to read, and it can move you to a place of greater awareness and honesty with yourself. So what happens? Once there, aware and honest, you can begin to move or flow in a very conscious and heart-oriented manner in the direction of your true purpose and joy. Good morning, Johanna.
Good morning, Lorraine.
It's so wonderful for you to be with us. And again, listeners, this is one of our West Coasters. I'm telling you, they're among the most dedicated of our guests. Yes. To get up at 5 o'clock to do the show. How is it in Redondo Beach today?
Oh, well, it is still dark. Well, I'm honored to be on the show, Lorraine. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. And it really is a delightful book. It's one that I'm going to go back and actually ask the questions, write down the answers. So I've read it. Now I'm going to use it as a workbook. I found it to be so insightful. Just your style really enables people to, in the moment, work with what you're talking about, and I think that's precious.
Thank you.
Yeah, it brings a really solid grounding to the work. Now, you weren't always a healer. What I'd like you to do is tell us about you, how you grew up, your earlier choices before embarking on the path you're on today as a teacher and healer.
Well, this is the question I always dread the most because I can barely remember what happened yesterday, let alone years ago. And I think it's not that important where we come from. But to answer your question, I was born in Germany and I grew up in Germany. And I grew up in the middle of nowhere with very few humans around. And so from early on, my soundboard for my disapproval of what was going on Earth was with the divine.
Yeah.
Because I had to have somebody to complain to. And it just things didn't seem right to me here.
Right.
And, but, I was very stubborn and my hearing wasn't that good, so I didn't hear the answers. And kind of moved away from that path of finding the answers of the divine, and had my long teenagehood of rebellion. And in that path, I moved to America.
Mm-hmm.
on a moment's idea, and worked in the film business and many other jobs, including a belt factory, which was pretty close to a sweatshop. And but the idea never left, that I needed to find my answers. So eventually I came back to completely devoting my life to my spiritual journey.
Right, and you mentioned in your book that your father had a medical clinic, and he identified fairly early on that you were a healer, but none of us, as you said, as teenagers can possibly believe that our parents, of all people, would see us or know us, right?
Well, I don't think it was that much that, but I didn't. I saw that life as being really not the kind of life I would want to lead, because to me, all the healers, and I met a lot of healers and shaman as a child through my family, and they all lived on some mountaintop, and I was already in the country. I wanted to see life and cities and be normal, whatever that might be, but I had an idea that there was something like normal out there, and none of these people were it. They had to live reclusive, and a lot of them were monks or shepherds, and so that kind of scared me. So having a healing ability to me meant, like in years ago when people went at 12 years old into the monastery, and I wasn't gonna go. Right.
No, and that's one of the most tremendous opportunities for our times, is that we can actually have a rich engagement and relationship with our spiritual nature without having to go into a monastery, without having to meditate for years in a cave. I really feel like this is the paradigm shift of our time. I just want to tell you a little story, too. A friend of mine sent me over a YouTube video of a valedictorian of her high school class. She was giving her speech, and she ripped the education system for how it really didn't permit children to truly find themselves, how it was a very repressive, very a system driven to produce this thing called normal or successful. And it's funny because when I watched it, I thought of your work. It really does, because I think with what's happening now is it gave me hope that we don't have to go 20, 30, 40, or even 50 years of our adult lives trying to fit our round souls into square pegs, so to speak. And this is what this young woman was saying, is that she was realizing that there was so much more to life than our educational institutions could actually impart. And that, and so it was very, very inspirational. And I thought of your work because, our particular generation, or my generation, anyways, we're finding we have to undo an awful lot to be able to move in the direction that we've been sensing, perhaps even since childhood. But at least today there is permission to do that. There's help, such as the transformation process and many other books and teachers. So, it is an incredible time to be alive, is it not?
Yeah. But I think it was always an incredible time to be alive. And it's, we always get what we need. Yeah. Even if it is in that structure. And I think that the monastery life might have been easier, actually, looking back, because, if you have an addiction to chocolate, if there's never been any chocolate around, well, you wouldn't know about it.
Right.
But if it's around and it's not good for you and you're trying to rigorously let go of it, it doesn't work either. It has to eventually, let go from the heart. But when you move somebody to a monastery or a mountaintop or away from all sorts of distractions and temptations, it's easier.
Yeah, it is. It's a very tempting world on a number of levels. Now, you mentioned something called structure, so this would be a really great time for you to define structure for our audience. As you use it in your book, you break it down to 3 essential structures, and of course there's more. But and again, you give such great examples and analogies, but share with listeners how you define structure or what the structures are.
Well, for the purpose of explaining life a little bit, I've divided life up into three structures. The physical structures, which are the physical body and houses, roads, anything that's tangible, cars. And the mental emotional structure, which is our feelings and our social engagement, that the people we relate to, the jobs, everything that's not tangible but is very much in our lives and determines how it is, and our spiritual structures, which are our belief system. And that includes almost everything that starts with having an opinion.
Right.
Because we think of belief systems as just being like, oh, what God do we believe in, or anything like that, but our belief systems go to what kind of milk we think we should drink.
Right.
Or not drink. So belief systems is almost everything, and that's our guiding system. And mostly we are unaware of it. So in the book, the first part is just to become aware of the structures. Where are your structures? What are they? And how do they serve you? And how do they not serve you?
Right. Johanna Derbolowski, her website is quantumheartfield.com, and her book is The Transformation Promise.